Yeah, let's start about the PR definition.
Yes, but before we'll go into the correct definition, we have a slide to show you. So I'll proceed with monologue until we can show you the PowerPoint presentation as well. PR is actually everything about...
Recording in progress.
Okay. It's about impact, influence. What you're building through PR is credibility. And why is credibility important? It's important for your customers. It's important for the media. And in the end, it's one of the main ways to build your company as well. So in order to start with your PR processes, the first step would be to define who are you as a company, what do you do, how do you differ from your competitors, and the most reasonable or the simplest way to tell it is that the way you'll build your communication is that if you have mapped your competitors and you'll analyze their main weaknesses and you'll build your strengths on their weaknesses. So this is just a monologue. I will show you slides now as well, and it will make a lot more sense. Yeah. My computer. Wait for a second, Diana. No, it's not. Okay, great. So I will. Okay, so now I'm back. Sorry for the beginning. In the first part, I will tell you about PR, and I will share my journey as a startup co-founder so that you would understand how I have found my way to the agency and what I've done previously. So it was year 2017, and me and my co-founder, we were in Seedcamp London. We were presenting our business idea to the investors, and we had a great business idea. We had an excellent team, and we had a terrible PowerPoint presentation. I don't know if you have experienced it as well or not, but I remember we started our presentation with the sentence that we are a lot better business builders than we are PowerPoint designers. And besides having the most terrible PowerPoint presentation, we also had no idea about PR. We had no idea about how to position ourselves, how to communicate our company story. And in the end, we didn't get any funding either, because we hadn't thought through how to actually present our company and how to talk about our company. Another business we tried to do was Xero Food. It was in the beginning of COVID, the first stage. And my colleague Maria had an idea of building an online marketplace that helps retailers to increase the sale of expiring products. For example, grocery stores have bananas which won't be sold. And we wanted to connect the bananas with schools and school cafeterias. And we made it to the top 20, but in the end, we actually didn't find a product market fit, and we quit the accelerator as well. But these experiences have taught me actually how important it is to think about PR, to think about your product, your service, and the way you will position yourself. So I asked in the beginning question about PR, what is PR? And here is a really good picture whereby it explains what is the difference between public relations, marketing, advertising, and branding. And if you would look on the picture, which of these ways would have most influence on you? So I, as a PR specialist, would say it's public relations. And in the end, if you do public relations for a longer period of time, you have a strong brand as well, which sells itself. And it's a lot easier to sell your product, to raise money, and so on. So what is the main difference between marketing and between advertising? The main difference is that PR is a trust building industry. And in the end, it's all about trust, whether your customers trust you, whether investors trust your company and your company's story. And this is the way you can also build and grow your business. Trust matters to consumers, employees, regulators, investors, to the market, and also to the media. The way you'll build trust to the media is through your own story and the way you position yourself as a founder. There are actually many, many marketing channels. Which of these have you used in your previous career or currently while building your product or service? Who wants to answer? Just answer.
Social media, of course, is the first thing.
Very common answer.
Me too. I have used social media only.
In a way,
Same
social.
here.
Sorry.
Same here. Social media mostly, and
So-
offline also, like from face to face and only social media.
Public
Yes.
relations. That's all I've done.
Okay, very nice. Social media is probably one of the easiest way to start promoting your product or service. But the top layer of all the activities is public relations, in a way to build credibility and trust. But I would actually say that if in the end you would find a way to use all the lines and in a sense create integrating marketing campaigns, this would give your company the most impact to your growth. The first stage of public relations is actually your own story. What is your startup story? What do you want to tell to your customers? And how do you position yourself and your product in the mind of your user? How many of you have thought about your product or service positioning? How many of you have thought about the target audience you want to reach? Yes, Ernest. Nice.
Yeah, I have thought about it. I have no question. Just agreeing with you.
So positioning is actually one of the key elements because it helps you to define the most essential parts of the value proposition, and you'll understand the key selling points of your company. What you'll need to do is you'll need to identify 2 to 3 key audiences you want to reach and map the values to the audiences. And it's really, really important to develop a clear messaging. very often we want to say all the things in one sentence, but it's extremely confusing because our customers and target audience, they want to hear only the most important things. And if you have too many messages in one sentence and in one material, then it's confusing and you lose the potential customer. Why it's important to know or at least test who is your target audience is that it actually helps you to build your communication and messaging, and you'll know better what kind of messages and key selling points are relevant to your target audience. And whenever you start communication, either in your own channels or in media, I'll talk a bit more in detail about media relations very soon. But you need to ask what makes your product unique, what differentiates you from your competitors, and what are your key strengths compared to your competitors. What is especially important during the downturn is that how you will message your product or service and show that it's a necessity and not just a nice to have thing. What helps you to do media relations, build credibility and trust is your own personal brand. How many of you have thought about your own personal brand and who are you as a founder? Whether you have written it down or you have thought it like during the pitches, what is the key selling point for you as a founder so that the investors or customers would believe in your product or service? How many of you actually think that they have a personal brand?
I would say everyone has a personal brand,
Exactly.
even if they don't think about it. So this is really crucial, what I have seen, and this is also important for investors to basically to see that you are at least to some extent an expert in this field and you can do it, and you're just not just anyone starting any business.
Exactly. But how do you build your personal brand? What activities do you do to be known among the investors?
I would say LinkedIn. This is what I have seen so far. LinkedIn is really important, and just like networking in general.
Attend forums, events.
Very nice. And also later on, besides all of these LinkedIn and events, crucial part is also media. You can put media as your own channel to build your personal brand, the way you will become a thought leader in the specific segment you're working in. So very simply put, personal brand is what others say about you when you enter the room and before you have entered the room. So all the activities you do on your own channels, is it LinkedIn or is it on Facebook? All the activities should lead you towards personal brand so that before you'll meet the investor, they'll already know your story. I think we won't need to make the break. Let's go into media relations, which probably is the most interesting part in our presentation. There are different ways to secure the story in media. There is press release. There is OPED, which means that you'll write an opinion piece about a topic. There is also pitches. so that you will write a journalist about your topic, the way and what makes your company important or special. But in the end, the way to use media as your main supporter is to keep in mind the main rules based on what media works. So if you read a newspaper about the sector you're working in or the sector you're building your product in, and you see for example, Postimees or Delfi economics desk, what they write about their competitors. This helps you actually think how and what kind of stories you should share with the same journalist. And the way the journalists and media chooses their topics is that the topic has to be newsworthy. It has to be impactful. It has to be timeliness, prominence, proximity. If there's something bizarre, it always works, and it always also works if there's a conflict written into it. What helps you to understand the journalist better is to start reading the magazines and portals they write in. Then you can see what is newsworthy about your competitors. You can see how they write articles, who are the journalists you'll need to reach out, and how media actually works. Because media doesn't write articles about their friends. They need to have newsworthiness. And it might be difficult to understand what is newsworthy and what not. And in order to understand it better, you'll need to start reading the magazines, you'll need to start listening to the podcasts, you'll need to start listening to the radio shows. This would help you to understand the journalist a bit better. What kind of media outlets do you read? Do you watch TV, for example? Do you listen to radio? Do you read newspapers? Nobody.
No time for that.
Okay, but what do you think, what kind of portals or outlets investors read? Or how do they get their information?
Crunchbase.
Just usual newspapers or magazines. What is their interest?
Yes. The way it works, and we have seen while consulting different startups, is that if your story will be out in the prominent magazine in Estonia, it's Postimees, Äripäev, Delfi, and it's on the front page of the portal, then usually investors have seen the news as well. Also, they'll get the information through LinkedIn. They'll get the information through the conferences. But if a journalist has written the story of your company, it sort of builds trust in him as well. If the journalist has chosen your company and sees value in it and writes about it, it's much easier to reach out to the investor as well. Therefore, it's important to include media relations to your communication and marketing strategy as well. What I would like to do with you now is to try to write the press release as a home task. But first I will go through the ABC of writing a press release. How many of you have tried writing a press release previously in their career?
Once a month.
Once a month, very nice.
I
Also-
tried.
We
I
write
had
several.
couple.
We also write several.
Okay, then you're quite aware how to do it, etc. How many of you, Aimar, for example, if you have written the press release, how successful have you been with the coverages?
With the help of PR agencies, the success ratio is increasing significantly. So it depends a lot of what is written there.
Okay, what we have seen is that although many say that press release as a way of communication is dying out, actually with startups and with tech companies, press release can have a huge impact. As long as you'll have a newsworthy item in the headline, and as long as you have mapped the journalists to send the press release to, you might have a really successful communication campaign built on it.
So just a brief feedback that for my understanding, my experience is that half of the content that we see in Estonian newspapers is written, basically the PR text, pre-written PR text.
Yes, what we have seen is that while working with the journalists, then the work for them will have become a lot more intense as well. And if the press release has a newsworthy items, and for example, the startup portal Found Me usually covers, I think, like 90% of the press releases we have sent them, they will publish it as well, as long as you'll have newsworthy item. For the home task, we will try to write the press release. Here is the ABC, how to write the press release. I am actually a former journalist, so what is important when writing a press release? The most important thing is actually the subject line. If you lose the journalist with the subject line, you'll have no chance that he'll actually publish it. Very often press release is attached to the email. Don't do it, just copy it to the email. So it's easy for them to put the press release up. Also, really, really important is to think about the picture. If the picture is done with a mobile phone, it doesn't have a good quality, then you'll minimize your chances of getting a coverage as well. And again, if you want to become good in writing press releases, start reading the tech portals, because as Aimar said as well, a lot of the news which are covered by news portals are actually press releases. And you'll see the way you'll understand if you'll monitor different tech portals. For example, Estonia has a really narrow media industry, and you'll see that the same news are covered in the main portals. Then you'll understand that the press release has been sent out and it has been covered in all the tech outlets. Do you have any questions about the press release? What I would actually say is, before starting to write the press release, think about your company and what makes it actually newsworthy. Why should the journalist care about your story? And what helps me usually is that I'll think, if I would send out the press release and I would be the reader of the press release, would I actually read it? Would it actually catch my eye? So the first thing I mentioned before as well is, what makes your company unique? And if you'll understand this, it's really, really easy to go through the first stage of doing media relations as well. We have written down some rules of media relations. And it all starts with the right channel, because you'll need to choose the same channel which is relevant for your target audience. For example, if you have a product which is meant for mothers, for example, you'll need to be covered in family portals and family magazines because your target audience is there. If your target audience is, for example, car owners, you'll need to be covered in car portals, in car communities and groups. And on LinkedIn, you'll need to also think about your target audience. What is the key message you want to send them? So choose the right channel. Find out which publication and who you're communicating with. Because if you're doing excellent communication, but you're doing it on a wrong channel, you might as well not do it at all because you won't have any results. How to start the media relations is you need to start reading the magazines and outlets which are relevant to your target audience. How to know it? You can ask your customers. You can guess all the time. But what we have seen, if the channel is right and the messaging is right, it has a huge impact on the sales. What we have seen, if our clients have apps, if the communication is right, it's really, really easy to become App Store #1 most downloaded app. So analyze the topics and stories the journalist you want to reach out is writing about. Analyze the journalist, what kind of tweets he or she makes on Twitter, what actually interests him. And Google, what kind of OPEDs has he written? This helps you to understand the journalist a bit better, and it helps you to position your product for him or her a bit better as well. There are many ways how to do media relations. There are press release, pitching, which is interview offering, and OPEDs, the way you will write an opinion piece about your industry, for example, about your company. But OPED, neither the press release, it can't be too advertorial. You can't lose the newsworthiness in media relation activities. It has to be relevant to the journalist, and the way journalist thinks is whether it would be relevant for the readers of the magazine. Be a partner to the journalist and offer him topics that interest him. And we can't actually forget that if you start selling your product or company, the journalist won't trust you and you won't get any coverage as well. You'll need to think about the newsworthiness. And I have to say that in Estonia, it's relatively easy to get the coverages because there are very few outlets, there are very few journalists, and the journalists are always looking for newsworthy items, cool founder stories, cool company stories. And it's relatively easy to reach out to them as well, because their email addresses are public. Even some of them have phone numbers on the portals. So I encourage you to start building your story and start building your media relations activities. What is important is also photos. For example, if you have an investment news to share with the journalist, always think about cool photo. We have seen quite many cool examples of Paula Pärnaste, who has supported, for example, Klaus, whereby she has had a really creative way of doing the founder photography. And only thanks to the pictures they have made even to the main channels like TechCrunch, whereby the main topic has been actually the pictures of the founders. If you have secured an interview with a journalist, prepare for it. I have one client who prepares at least 3 hours for the main outlet interviews. And she thinks about her sites, the way she quotes something, the way she describes something. And this might help you to secure not only the interview, but you might get also your quote on the second page of the magazine, because it's so interesting and it's so sparkling. Media relations, it actually isn't sprint, it's a marathon. You need to test different ways to reach out to the journalists. You'll need to test different pitch angles. Don't give up if you don't see immediate results. And don't be too harsh on yourself as well, because in a way it's easy, but in a way it's also extremely difficult. The key element is finding newsworthy items or becoming a thought leader and having really interesting thoughts about different topics, especially which are relevant to your target audience as well. And I have stated it a couple of times, but in order to start doing media relations, you'll need to start reading the same portals and outlets. The last point in here is about media contacts. And in Estonia, it's again relatively easy because we probably, and you, if you start to do media relations, you can find all the media contacts on the portals. Genius Media, Postimees, Delfi, they all have their journalist's name and emails on the homepage. And you can reach out to them either on LinkedIn or via email. It's a lot more difficult if you want to build international media coverage, but it's doable as well. If you'll start to create your own media contacts, you'll make a list with the journalists, you'll start to follow them on Twitter, you'll start to follow them on LinkedIn, and you'll engage with them on Twitter, for example. So what do you think so far? What seems to be the most difficult part in media relations? For the ones who have tried it a bit.
To create nice story.
Find the newsworthiness.
For me, writing is not so problem, even if you have something to say, but you never know what is active topic in the media and what are these people on the media side think about the story. Say whether they pick up it or not. Maybe there is some breaking story happening and they just forgot your PR notice.
Yes, very often, for example, getting TV coverage in Estonia, even if you have agreed on them coming to your events, if there happens something in the politics or in foreign policy, you'll just lose it. What is the key element in media relations are actually the relations with the journalists. So whenever you have a chance to reach out to them, even invite them for a cup of coffee in the morning, for example, and get to know them, ask what is newsworthy for them, how do they, what are the articles most read in their portals, what do they think of your industry, for example, and get to know them. And like as a side note is talk a bit about your own company and your own story as well. This might help you to get more coverages in the future as well. But you'll still need newsworthy items, even if the journalist will become a really good friend of yours.
Actually, I would like to add here that I had one experience when I had also very good relation, one Äripäev, an Estonian newspaper journalist, and I asked him to join and just write an article about what I'm saying. And actually, the draft of the story was quite good, but the actual result was absolutely opposite that we wanted to say. So it didn't go so well. Even if you have good relations, you actually don't know what is the outcome. So it's very, borderline.
What I would suggest you to always do before giving the interview is asking whether you can check the article just to control the facts. Because very often journalists are willing to do it because they don't want to publish articles which are full of factual mistakes as well. So that you don't offend them if you ask this question. So let's go further, how to pitch your story. We have gone a bit through it as well, but the pitching is, at first, if you start to do it, it might seem really difficult as well, because as Maria pointed out, the key element here is how to find newsworthiness. For example, Maria, what does your product or service do? What is your business idea?
At the moment, we develop biomaterials from the bio-waste for disposal tablewares. We replace plastic, like now it's restriction for plastic production in Europe, and we find new ways from bio-waste to make new materials which are usable for tablewares. Recyclable, renewables, yeah.
Very nice.
100% environmental friendly.
Yes, and the topic is also very relevant, like in all the processes we are going through. So, have you thought about the media relations as well? If you start to pitch the journalist, what makes your product unique?
We save the planet. We save the planet from the wood cut, from plastics pollutions. I need to think, honestly. Yeah, I was full in technology development, testing, and MVP. And honestly, I need the time, and it's my homework to be prepared for such communications.
Yes, and it all actually takes time, because you'll actually need to, the first and most important thing is going very precise how your product saves the world and planet. What makes your product unique? And very often what helps is to talk to your friend or your colleague or someone from Prototron and ask her or him how she sees your company. Yeah. What are the key selling points?
And also for you, Maria, I think the key over here is data and the market you are going. So in Estonia, you can search all the sustainability problems, track them down, and then write this as your pitch. And if you're going to UK, you find this market and you can find those problems, this data. So data.
Let's ask Aimar as well. What does your product do?
Just for note that my previous experience is that I'm a spokesperson of one bank, but in this Prototon, I have one fintech company. So yeah, solving problem with banks, loan taking problems with banks.
Very nice. For example, your example, you have a really good founder story. So you have worked for a big bank and you realize that there are ways of doing things better. And then you have built your own startup on the idea and your own personal story is one of the key elements to reach to the journalists and tell your company story.
Thanks for the feedback.
So this is one way.
Mhm.
Very often you yourself, you're so in love with the product, with the service, and it might be a bit difficult to find the ways to reach out to journalists and think the way the journalist thinks. So whenever you would like to reach out to us and ask what to do and how to do, just do it. We would be happy to help and brainstorm together with you. If you'll manage to secure coverage, maximize the impact of the article. Very often the outlets have closed articles so that only people who pay for the outlets can read it. So they have rather narrow audience. But if you'll make a summary of the article and you share it on your LinkedIn, on your Facebook, so that your friends and your potential customers would see it, you would have a much higher reach. Also, if you manage to secure, for example, a newspaper article, offer the same topic to the radio. Especially good channels are radio morning programs. If you're working in tech industry, Äripäev's morning program is listened to the investors. It's listened to your potential customers. And it's a really good way of impacting the growth of your company. So if you'll manage to secure one coverage, don't be only there, but move forward with it and maximize the impact. Again, we have here written about newsworthiness. And just to show you what are the elements of newsworthiness, it's timing, significance, proximity, prominence, human interest, and thinking the way the journalist thinks. Why is your news relevant? Why should he or she cover it? Your pitch should make it clear how your startup affects people and why the technology matters. Why should the readers care? And the pitch, if you do it via email, it should be rather short. 3 to 4 sentences are already good enough, but they have to be very well argumented. So you need to think, what are the key elements which make your company or your story special and unique? Because in the end, you want to be a partner to the journalist and offer him a good topic so that you can both win. So what to do and what not to do? First, get your brand message right. Reach out to press, have your own list of journalists. In Estonia, it's relatively easy to do the list. In international PR, it's a bit more difficult, but doable. And stay up to date with the press. As the journalists are all the time changing, also the outlets they're working for, reach out to them and ask and offer them different topics. And make it a habit for you as well to do it either once a month, once in a quarter, so that the journalist would see your email and he would already understand, oh, that's this guy who builds its own fintech company. He has a really nice story and he has really nice ideas as well. This way you'll start to build a partnership with the journalist. What not to do? Don't be a creep. Don't write text messages to the journalist. Don't send irrelevant emails to the journalist. Don't call him or her. Don't lie. If you give an interview, don't lie because it all comes out and you might destroy the relationship with the media landscape for a very long period of time. And don't send blanket emails. Don't send press release whereby you have CC'd all the journalists and all the outlets. Make it personal. The way if you make a pitch, write to the concrete journalist, for example, in Genius Media, Helena Anilane. Start the pitch with, "Hi, Helena, I've seen you have written many interesting articles about fintech industry. I'm Aimar, and I have a really good idea on how to solve this problem." So make it very personal. We have another workshop to write the pitch to the journalist about your product or service. What do you think? Do you want to try it now? Actually, I think let's try it out for 15 to 20 minutes. Write down pitch to a journalist who works for an outlet. Would be perfect if we would find a real life journalist who works, for example, in Estonian media. Try to find her name and email and try to work out the pitch. I can put the key parts of successful pitch here. Write it on Google Docs and then we'll ask you, how did you do? And we can give you some advice, what to change, what has been done well, and how to actually reach out to the journalist the way you would get coverage on your product or your founder story. So let's come back in 15 minutes, 10 minutes past 7.
Can I ask?
Sure.
Is it okay if I just attach my one pager with some information?
Actually not, because the journalists, they have like hundreds of emails per day. And if you'll attach a one pager, then he will just delete your email. The pitch has to be catchy and it has to be short and it has to actually be newsworthy.
Okay, so we just write successful pitch now.
Yes, about your company or your product or your service.
Okay.
So it was 7:05. We come back, or 7 to 7:10.
10. Or if you think you can do it faster, we can do it in 10 minutes as well. So we would be back 5 minutes past 7.
So the task, sorry. So the task is 3-4 sentences, newsworthy for some kind of media, yes?
Yes, to a journalist.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, let's come back 5 minutes past 7 and I'll ask how have you been doing? How much?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. And let's go through the pitches. And we'll give you some feedback and then we'll go on with some nice examples how to do PR and how PR has helped startups, our own campaigns.
My mother's child.
Понятно? Now you can start.
Then the first one. And you can see and comment on that. Do you see the screen?
No.
To see the screen, then you should stop your screen sharing, otherwise nobody can.
Okay, I'll stop.
Anything.
Do you see mine now?
Yes.
So you can take a look at them in comments.
Very nice. You know, the journalist, he's the editor-in-chief of Aribao. Usually, editor-in-chiefs aren't good journalists to start from, because they actually lead, or the journalists, they very often don't write the articles or press releases themselves. So in order to get coverage, I would recommend you to start from the journalists who write articles every day. But it's nice that you have found the right channel, and you have found the name of the journalist as well. So the headline, which is the most important part in the pitch, I would say, and I would suggest you to go more in depth, because there are probably other companies as well who are doing the same, who are disrupting the financial industry. So what I would suggest you to do is to write it a bit more precisely. How does it do it? How does it differ from the competitors? Let's see. Very nice. I can see that you have put here together, you have mixed press release and you have mixed a pitch. So what is the difference between press release and a pitch? Press release is an article written by you in that sense. It has a headline, it has an editorial, and it has an ending. What is a pitch is that you'll contact the journalist and you'll write, "Hi, I'm Aimar Roosalu, I'm the CEO of Bankery Europe, and I have created a company which does this and this. Would you be interested in the interview whereby I would go more in depth with my product and the way it changes the whole industry?" Just 2 sentences, and that's all.
Oh,
That's
okay, but can I ask from there do really the startups send these kind of pitches? Is it useful? What is the practicality?
What I would recommend you to do is that if you have a really strong pitch, and Aimar, you have a lot of potential here in your product, in your founder story, if you manage to secure the interview and get the attention of the journalist, there's a really high possibility that he will write your company story as well. And if the journalist will write it himself, put it on the first page of Delfi or Postimees, it's probably one of the most impactful ways of getting PR and doing communication.
There's also another question: that is it reasonable that if I make this pitch and then I also send him some kind of PR article or something, or the pitch is I just send first the pitch, who I am, and then I try to get connection with him or her, and then afterwards we will talk about PR.
Yes, I would recommend you to go step by step. So the first way of doing it would be to list the journalists you would like to approach. Then think about your product or service, what makes it unique. And just write, hi, Igor. I'm Aimar Roosalu, the CEO and founder of this company. My company is changing the industry the way nobody imagined a year ago. These are the results we have achieved already. So back it with data as well. Show your credibility through it, and then ask for an interview.
You have any experience, what kind of, do they really give you a response also? Thank you for the email or so, or they just ignore it?
They actually, if you will formulate it the right way, it will be short and simple, straight to the point. And your product actually disrupts the industry. And you have data to prove it as well. Very often they use it as well.
Okay, so it should be a real pitch.
Yes.
Not any PR related thing.
There are different ways of getting coverage. One is pitch, which might be the easiest way because it takes you an hour or two to formulate the email and see whether journalists are interested in your topic and your product. Just test different journalists. Test different messaging, positioning, and newsworthy items. Because in the end, it would take like 5 hours per month of your calendar, but you might get really good results. Then another way is to write an press release, which probably takes you a lot longer. And you'll need to practice writing press release as well until you'll be proficient in it. So I would definitely recommend you to start with a pitch, reaching out to the journalists.
I think we can take one more to analyze.
Yes.
Let's see, stopping for a second.
And thanks a lot for the pitch. I really like the way you thought through the things. Also, if you pitch the journalist, have one key selling point per email. Don't confuse the journalist. For example, if your product is disrupting the industry, say it and then back the same statement with 2 to 3 examples or data. And also, in regards of the pitch, I would also recommend you to introduce yourself. Who are you and what is your background? Why should they believe you? Very nice. Thank you, Jürgen.
Well, I'm not a writer, and actually I hate it.
But I really like it, the way you have formulated it. And also what I can see, what you have done really, really well is that you have built your own credibility through Luminor and Swedbank. This is a really nice way of getting the attention of the journalist and getting credibility, because if without these cooperations, probably it would be more difficult to get the coverage as well. And also, if I would continue from here, then in the first sentence, I would say not only the partnerships, because probably different companies have partnerships with the same banks. I would state, what does your company do? What makes you special? And then move on to the partnerships. And also I would add one more thing before we go into the good examples, is that if you write the pitch, offer the journalist whether he or she would be interested in doing the interview with you.
I won't do that. I will be with him there, waiting for him to step out of the office.
Okay. Okay, very nice. Very nice. So maybe we'll continue now with some examples, how we have supported different startups with a product launch and how we have supported them to get some funding. Because what we have seen is that even small pieces of facts, even coverage in Estonian daily newspaper Postimees on the front page has really, really good results. We had one customer, Handies, and they had one article in Postimees, and thanks to the article and the messaging, they became #1 most downloaded app in Estonia on the same day.
Yes, hi from my side.
Hi, now you can hear me. I'm just gonna leave. So, do you hear me well?
Yes, now no echo, so.
Oh, very good. I still have the echo because I'm in the other room. So sorry, we haven't done Zoom for a really long time, but hi from my side. I'm Lily. I'm junior consultant at Meta, mostly working with startups. And I'm also specialized to LinkedIn, which I really love. So if you have any questions for that later on, then feel free to ask. And how I ended up with startups, it's really easy. I also have personal connection to that. When I went to university, I had this entrepreneurship course or like a minor, and I went there and I also got a chance to build my own startup. And I created like a art selling and renting platform called Who's, and it's still available right now, even though I'm not working there regularly because my main job is over here to help others. But what I learned from my university course was that communications is really important, and all the teachers was like, yeah, tell your story right away. You don't need your product to like have your story. And on the one hand, I agree with that, because you can start with like social media, with your personal story, you can tell how you build your product. But at the same time, it is important to have your product, which is ready already. And I'm going to tell you why a bit through our experience. So PR.
I'm really sorry, but I suppose you should mute yourself. Otherwise, we listen to all the cartoons, but you're looking there.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's not me, so good. PR basically sells you and your vision to investors and customers, and this is the first reason why you should do it at some point. And we have a really nice case study of Meet Frank. I don't know how many of you have used it in, I don't know, maybe a few years ago. Have you heard about it? No? Yes, somebody is saying yes there. No. Yeah, it is a really nice platform for people who are looking a job in the IT sector, actually, and also in the marketing sector. And what it does, it's like a application. You go on there, you see what is the market valuation for your job at the moment. Are you worth more money that you're earning right now? And then you can apply for jobs. So you just go there, you answer some questions, and then if it's a match, they will contact you, like the company will contact you. So the process compared to CV Online or CV-Keskus is much more easier, or whatever platform or website you have in your country. But the company came to us and they had really clear goals. They want to raise awareness, reach 10,000 users in 3 months. It was a totally unknown company during the time. Reach 500 businesses in 3 months and find at least one investor. And how we did it with budget 1,500 euros was we created an integrated communications campaign. And why I say integrated is because someone, I think it was on the first slide or when you first talked with Ain about what a PR is, someone said that first comes marketing, then comes PR, then comes sales. But actually marketing and PR need to work together. And this is really important even from the beginning. So if you're doing your ads, you're doing your social media post, it is also important to tell your story, be out there already. But what we did was basically the first part was highly focused on messaging and getting our strong messages out. And we did like a strong outdoor campaign where we put those posters that ask people, how much are you earning? Do you feel like you're earning like what you need already? And people were seeing those ads on social media as well. And they got to go to the application right away and test out like if they're earning the amount of money they should earn, or is there any other option for them? Is there any other company that gives them more money or gives them better benefits? And this really kind of threw the drive like up. And then we, thanks to that huge buzz around it, we got the cooperation with Slush. Maybe some of you have heard, this is Helsinki's biggest tech conference. And they were willing to let Meet Frank just participate over there, put their merch out. And it was highly successful because people were interested in working and of course their salaries. And then the final part, because due to the first two parts, which were highly successful, the third part focused on the new investor introducement they got, and then also the markets they moved on to. So they, during the campaign time, they got 30,000 plus users. They were first up in the App Store. We got 30 plus media coverages thanks to the hot topic. And then we got to kind of reduce new news thanks to the investor and thanks to moving to the new countries. And also PR, what is important is to grow your user base. As you already saw on the last one, we, thanks to all this PR work and marketing work and getting your story out there, we got like 30,000 users, even though our goal was 10,000. But there is another case study, which is, I think, a bit more fun and important for you, because I think most of you are still in the early phase. So you might not have even like 1,500 euros as your budget. So with a zero budget, what can you do? You can still raise awareness. You can still do the user-based growth and become the #1 parking app in Estonia. And how do you do it? You track down the hot topics in media. And what Parking did together with us, with a bit of help and analyzing, Parking itself, maybe some of you have used that. It is now called Snap. I think it's also in Lithuania and Latvia. Maybe not right now. I'm not sure.
It is also alumni or winner from Protatron.
Yeah, exactly. But this is basically a parking app. And parking is never really sexy or hot topic, and especially during Christmas time, because everybody is already so stressed about their gifts and what they have to get. So nobody wants to take time to download some random app to find parking. But what we did, we told the journalists that, hey, do you know that public sector has a lot of parking spaces around the city center where people are shopping? And do you know that there aren't like people working all the time, like during the weekends, during the week time. So there are a lot of like available parking spots that they could rent out while they're away. And the journalists were hooked on this topic because, you know, public sector, it's where we are all like together, this is our society. And they were willing to make an article where they stressed the topic that, oh, public sector is doing this really badly, and there is like a startup that can solve this problem. And the app downloads doubled because of that. And the whole campaign was also supported with social media. We made pictures of the free parking spots. We all even put like gift boxes on the parking spots and asked people like, oh, do you know what you can get like for this money that this parking spot is worth? And as you can see, this is really, we stepped on people's toes, and we stepped on public sector's toes, and this was also a buzz in media. But other thing we did was also, we took their investors. One of their investors was Ryan Lehmus, who's still their investor, and we made stories why he's investing in this company, why it is relevant to him. And I think this is for you a future topic to think about, to select also investors if you have this possibility, who are willing to be your spokespersons as well, because they are your value. And also we talked about how expensive parking has got. So those are like really easy topics, really like there's like nothing to take them to media basically. And the last one is PR launches your product with a bang. And I know that most of you, there comes a time where you have to launch your product. So PR can definitely do it. And we also launched Lightyear this year. Maybe some of you have heard of it. And they want to dominate the news cycle and establish brand recognition. And they definitely did that through their founder stories, and also thanks to the problem they were solving. And this got really a lot of attention on media. But over here, this is like a really nice way to illustrate also the marketing and PR point. You can see the yellow line, and this yellow line indicates basically marketing. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down. And what it does, it gives you a boost for like a second, but it doesn't build the trust. And what you want is both. You want to build trust, which this red line is. And this is what PR does. It goes up and up and up and up. And even though the yellow line goes up and down, up and down, up and down, and you can see results right away, the red line will give you more results at the end. So keep in mind to do both. Focus on marketing, but at the same time, don't forget about brand building, because it's much harder to do it like years later. And also great example, I know that this probably is a future for you, because you have a lot to focus on right now, but Airbnb also dropped their marketing in 2020 when COVID hit. And they decided to focus on PR instead. And what they saw was that traffic didn't drop even a bit. Results even after campaign ends, and people love brand, not marketing. And I know that a lot of startups have asked us, like from me and I'm like, oh, I have this great idea and I want to get straight to TechCrunch and Bloomberg or whatever is your field, like the main newsletter, but you're probably not going to get there right away. Only if you're this guy, then maybe, but otherwise, you have to build this trust before going there. But what you can do is getting your startups where the key eyeballs are. So writing blogs, finding niche newspapers, finding where your audience is. It can be like really small blogs at the beginning. It doesn't have to be right away the huge ones. Just go search Google. Google is your best friend. Trust that, and try. And as I say, try, put it on repeat, because PR is continuous and people remember companies that are talked over and over and over about again. And even if you think that you have talked enough, then it's not enough. It's definitely not enough. You need to talk more. Here is one great way to build up basically your way to clients and investors and going to tier 1. It doesn't be tech startups, it can be some other field outlets. But basically you can start with the small blogs, as I already said. Take Medium, then go to another level, which is for tech news, it's Hacker News or Product Hunt. Then you can go to sector publications, which are niche news, like a bit bigger ones that are writing of your sector specific things. And then you can pitch yourself to top tier. And if you're lucky, and I know you are at some point, then you will find those clients and investors coming from there. And to illustrate that, I had really, or we both with Ain, we had a really one bright and great colleague, Eric. And one day he went to a bar in Tallinn Old Town, and instead of forks or chopsticks, he got pincers, like those really stupid freaking things, and to just eat olives or snacks or whatever was brought on the table. And he thought that, wow, it's really controversial and it's really like a startup. It's revolutionizing something. So he thought that, whatever, I'm gonna make up this character. This character doesn't exist. It's created with AI. And his name is James Buxton. And Eric wrote this really short Medium blog article on replacing forks and chopsticks with pincers. It's a really controversial article. And he also posted it on Hacker News. Maybe some of you know what Hacker News is, but it's a really nice place to be. And a few hours later, his friend sent him this, that this news is like one of the top stories on Hacker News. And he went to Hacker News and it was really on the 9th position. So then the Hacker News is visited by tens of thousands of people every day. So this random story just got on the 9th place. And then he went to Medium and he saw that he has 61,000 views on this blog. And people even made memes about it, like, no, I use chopsticks instead of pincers. And this wasn't done by him. It was done by other people because he created a thing which created discussion. So yeah, to take this all together, PR becomes obvious like the months or even a year later after a story was posted. So don't give up. It takes time. You have to be really patient with it, and you will get there. Do you have any questions? I saw that chat box is popping up. If 100% is trust, what part of it is publishing frequency? Other parts increase the trust. Let me see if there's other. I'm gonna stop the screen. Guntis, I'm gonna take your question. You're asking about the publishing frequency. I would say that the more often you are on media, the better. Is that your question?
Yes, yes, but it's not the only thing that creates trust. Yes.
Yeah, that's not definitely the only thing. The thing that creates trust is also your product. Is there actually a product market fit? And if you have trustworthy founders, even the founder thing is really important, and also the investors around it, if you get to investors at some point as well. And also the customer stories are what creates trust. Gonna read reviews and you contemplate the office for. Oh yeah, someone already answered that as well. Is there any other questions?
Yes, I wanted to ask about the budget on your case studies. When the parking app, you said that the budget was 0. Does it mean you also work for free, or it's like just advertising budget? Or
Yeah, we work for free this time. We don't do that often because, of course, we also have to get bread on our table. But for this part, we really saw the potential in that. So we're really happy to help if we can. And it was really cost effective for us because we only had to do the pitches.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Maybe you have some questions to Ain or?
I was wondering about the Meet Frank case study you had. So it was shown there that they got pre-seed investment after that. So they had already like the platform built by that time, or they didn't have that yet?
Yeah, they had the platform built. Yeah. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. Also, that I was also over here. That even though people say that, oh, it's not important to have your product ready, when you're going to media, your product kind of has to be ready or ready to launch, because otherwise you would be lying to media a bit.
Yes, I would also suggest starting with the pitches and with media relations if you have the product or service ready. And if you have any data to back it up as well, so that the journalists can see that the product is actually working and you have a user base.
I have another question as well. I don't know if you saw, I also wrote to your email and I took a bit of a different approach. So I've been also thinking from this sort of personal branding perspective. So if you don't have the platform yet, like, can you just talk around that topic, and just if that is like an interesting topic, just to create awareness of or something like this, would you suggest that, or would you also see that you should rather have something ready or very soon ready, then it will be like more, it will be better?
Definitely, we would encourage you to do that, because this way you'll build your own thought leadership. And you'll make yourself memorable for the journalists as well. And if the product or service is ready, it's much easier to link this to you as well.
Yeah, I would say the same. And as I talked before with Hubis, I did the same. I didn't get to any media outlets, but what I did was like building my personal brand and story through my company. So I highly recommend that.
And also it's actually the OPEDs, if you have a really strong opinion, it's relatively easy way of getting the coverage as well, because the departments of Postimees and Delfi and the people who work in the OPED departments, they are always lacking strong opinion pieces.
Yeah. Mari-Liis, you had a question before?
Yes, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, perfectly.
Perfect. So my question is, how does it all fit for the B2B business model? Because we are really targeting, how to say, product developers and not the end users. So what we can get out from this media and how to say, communication.
Well, what is your who is your main audience again?
It will be like food or cosmetic producers because we are producing novel fats and oils with microorganisms. And our end user would be the industry, not the, what to say, consumer.
Yes, I would actually still recommend you to use media relations as well, because it helps you to build trust among them as well and get some credibility to yourself and your company as well. And then I would recommend to do more targeted activities to reach out to the target audience more specifically. Find out where they are, perhaps make like one-on-one meetings, perhaps see whether they are in some kind of communities or groups.
Okay, thank you.
We have one more question from Hagan. I don't know if I said the name right. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. So my question is, could you please clarify or repeat, like you said, you didn't use media, yeah? You build your story from your company, yeah? Is it what you mean? Could you tell again, how did you do that?
Oh, my approach was, I think, even a bit harsh. I built it on LinkedIn and I told people, I don't recommend it anymore, I would say, because it was like a few years ago. But I went on LinkedIn and then I asked people like, hey, I'm this and that, and I'm doing this kind of thing. Would you be interested in checking out, giving me feedback? Then I got like the first customer side, like working and also working together with me, giving me feedback. But it also gave me some responses and built this trust. But also I shared posts on Facebook, first to my like really close circle, and then on Instagram, and then shared like through my friends, even like asked them, could you share my post and do this and that? So make your friends work for you.
Okay, did you have some regular posts like every week or couple times a month?
I have to go back in my memory, but I think I posted regularly and I had like a limited time for doing that. So I think I posted like twice a week. I wouldn't recommend it anymore to like diversify your content, but still like once every 2 weeks to talk about your product, your thing you're building on your platforms. It's really good.
All right, thank you very much for answering.
Let's see.
Yes, it's possible to get mentoring session as well with us. We'll go through with Jana how we'll choose the ones who will get the mentoring session, and then we'll let you know. Of course, if you have, I'm actually quite flexible on Friday as well. So we can do, for example, on the first stage, we can have an hour with you so that me and Lily will consult you for an hour, and the companies can come and ask questions. We won't make it personalized yet. In the further stages, we'll make it more personalized, but just for the first option, for the companies who have their product ready already and who want to get some consulting or ideas how to start with your media relations.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
So you mean the 1 hour first is for everyone all together? Is like group mentoring?
Who need it? Yes.
Ah,
How
okay,
many of-
group
how-
mentoring.
Yeah, how many of you would come?
But seems in chat seems like very many.
I'm not available on Friday, but I'm here. I can cover it myself because I'm actually really fond of consulting startups. Let's see. We can also do different sessions. We can divide it into two. We can do it like through Friday, 2 Fridays, this Friday. and next
There is like one of the certain ways how we do the mentoring is either it can be group mentoring, so you know, not to create a lot of opportunities, but another one is that we have the mentoring matrix where you just point out the time and teams can assign themselves to you. So if you say that you are available for like, I don't know, 3 hours, then the teams can assign. But now I cannot, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as I can count from the chat, that like 6 teams, and okay, 7, no, 8. so girls, you're super popular. 9, 10. So maybe it's really a nice idea that you can start from on Friday, because on Friday we don't have any of a workshop, so we can schedule group mentoring, and then like not next week you can we can make it like 20 minutes per team. So if there then it will be maybe a little bit easier. Otherwise it's already 11, and you know.
Of course, I agree with it.
And even our I don't know, like best ever mentor Ivar, he said that 10 teams is maximum, and then he died.
Okay. Yeah, but on Friday we can agree on the time slots from 3 o'clock till 5 o'clock. I don't know what kind of program do you use to schedule it usually, Anna?
It is, I post everything in Slack, and then I, just to be on safe side, I send the calendar invitations, and then we have Zoom.
Okay, okay. Then maybe
But
we can discuss.
guys, from 3 to 5, is it okay for you? Those ones who has mentioned that you would like to have the mentoring. I don't know, you can just say yes, you know.
Yes. That's also a good idea to have two groups, B2C and B2B.
Yeah, then you maybe just let's divide like one first hour is B2C or vice versa. Like if you have 2 hours, then it's from 3 to 4 is 1. Is B2C.
So, yeah, B2B from 4 o'clock. Suits me well.
Okay. So now you know. So I will post it in Slack, and this recording will be also available. So I assume there will be more eager startups to talk about communication. And guys, really, I'm really happy that you are all here, because what I see in Protatron that you super smart chemists and physics and mathematics sometimes are not very happy to make PR. And I'm very thankful that Anne and Lily could, I hope they could inspire you that it's not so awful. It's almost the same as a chemistry, just you know, using another way of the letters. And next week we will have sales workshop, which is also very cool. So I hope that it will shift a little bit of your mind, and you just diversify your neurons.
Yes. Thanks a lot for listening. We really enjoyed your company and the way you asked your questions, did your pitches.
Yeah, thanks everybody. It was really nice to meet you.
Okay, thank you very much, and see you tomorrow, guys.
Bye-bye.
you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.